It is coming. It is upon us. The mock draft is here. Be aware. Be afraid.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's almost like football is here in 4 months or so. Who cares? Hit it!
Go!
Welcome to your new life in a fantasy football world. Our year-round fantasy football podcast to keep you up to date with all the fun going on in the offseason, to get you ready for that all-important domination of your league in 2019, because we know how important that is, and oh man, does it feel so good when you bring home that trophy. Today, we're going to get into a few things. We're going to get into some news. How about another segment about league ethics? What do you do with trades in your league? And what do you do about people that are bad at trades? And how about we get into a mock draft? Can't wait for this. As always, I'm here with my guiding spirit animal, Mr. Wes.
Thank you, Caleb. Such high praise, and I appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Again, I'm here to remind you guys tirelessly to follow us on social media at LifeInAFFW. Have any questions, comments, wherever you listen to your podcast, give us a rating, a review, whichever pleases you. Now, it is my pleasure to escort you individuals to the news.
Are we talking about the news?
Let's get that news out for everyone to see. Check it out and keep it clean.
Oh. I like that. This is the news. Yeah, it's a little bit of a light week, but we actually have some nice tidbits to get into. Let's just start with...
I was going to say tidbits. Yeah.
Oh, tidbit. Well, that's what it is.
More tid than bits, though.
That's true. It's a little bit heavier on the tid. And I like tid, though. The type it was served to me when I was
I'm
young.
more of a bit guy, but...
Oh, are you? I kind of guessed you that way.
Well.
So, let's talk about the Patriots. How about we talk about the Patriots? They always seem to know the right people to add into their development. Austin Seferian-Jenkins is now a Patriot. Does it mean much? Who knows? He's been with, 4 teams in the past couple of years? But they had a hole at tight end. They filled a hole at tight end. How do you feel about it, Wes? Do you think it means anything? Is he somebody you're going to look at and say, you know what? Let's take a flyer on?
Yeah, to be honest with you, this is classic Patriots. Just waiting around, not panicking or anything, not making major trades or throwing out crazy money. I think it's a great signing for him. I think they'll address the tight end position in the draft, but if they go into the season with Austin Seferian, whatever his name is, Jenkins, as their starter, I think they're still in pretty decent shape. He's very talented. His only issue is staying healthy. I mean, he's never played a full season. His best season was when he played 13 games for the Jets. And he had a pretty decent season. I mean, it wasn't major, but if he can stay healthy, this is an awesome pickup. I don't think he'll stay healthy, and I think they will either make more signings or address it in the draft, like I said. But fantasy-wise, as your number 2 tight end, why not? I think he's worth a look. You could do a lot worse. And with Tom Brady, I feel like that offense really relied on Gronkowski a lot, so who knows? He could have a career year.
He was a touchdown machine in his great season. He could be a touchdown machine again. I mean, they only have so many options now. So they also hosted Demaryius Thomas. Haven't heard anything about the actual signing of Demaryius Thomas. I think that would actually be a really decent place for him to fall. If he's going to be a help anywhere and do some damage anywhere, and certainly in New England he could. Obviously, again, I'm a Miami fan. I'd rather not help the Patriots, and I wish they'd just fall apart at some point, but it hasn't happened yet. But even ex-Patriots can get work, and Mr. Chris Hogan who you referred to earlier in the year as Christopher Hogan, has gone to the Panthers to help that wide receiving core. And I don't mind that move for Chris Hogan, who actually has some skill at the receiver position.
Yeah, just to backtrack a little on Demaryius Thomas. If he signs with the Patriots, with the Patriots, which I anticipate he does, I think that's an awesome signing. Again, if he stays healthy, no Josh Gordon, no Chris Hogan, it's him and Philip Dorsett. I mean, the ball's got to go somewhere. I feel like even in his short time with Houston, he had a couple touchdowns. I think he would be someone worth looking at. But the Chris Hogan signing, I'm really, honestly, not too impressed. I wouldn't keep my eye on him. I feel like passing attack in Carolina isn't impressive to start with. You have a bunch of above-average receivers there, and Chris Hogan is just going to get lost in the mix. I don't think, other than DJ Moore, anyone in that receiving core is that relevant. But I have been wrong before.
Now, if Cam Newton comes back perfectly healthy, do you take the same stance on the core?
That's a big if. Other than DJ Moore, I don't. Who would you take?
Yeah, I mean that's my question. I mean, because if we can't rely on him being fully healthy, obviously, he can't throw the ball down the field, and then whatever other quarterback that they bring in instead is just an interim, and you just don't know, so you can't really draft somebody.
Well, I'll just say this: Chris Hogan's best season with arguably the best quarterback of all time was 680 yards and 4 touchdowns in a season. Now he goes to Cam Newton. I don't see how that's an improvement. And those numbers alone, 680 and 4 touchdowns, are not eye-popping at all. So I would stay clear of him. And that's his career year,
Is that even
so honestly,
wide receiver 3?
It's not that exciting. No, I don't know. There's a lot more attractive wide receiver 3s that have a higher upside than Chris Hogan. I think you know what you're getting, and what you're getting is a good football player, but stats-wise, he's not going to do much for you. He's a stinking lacrosse player, for God's sake. I mean, he did come up with some huge... I just think he made some huge plays in the playoffs and stuff like that, and his name sort of exceeded his actual production.
Yeah.
And I think people are going to go with that, and he'll be dropped in the majority of leagues by week 2 or 3.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think I had him early last year, and you just can't be sure what he's going to do for you on a yearly basis, unfortunately.
On a yearly basis or a week-by-week basis?
Yes, week by week.
He's. I'm looking at his stats, man. His first week was 1 reception. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 5 games last year with 1 or 0 receptions. That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Even for a receiver number 3. So I know we're spending a lot of time on Chris Hogan, but I just feel like this is the public service of avoid this guy. If you want to do what's right for your fantasy football team, stay away from this guy. I know it's an attractive name, Chris Hogan, but he is just going to be a waste of space on your roster until you drop him.
So wait it out in the season, see what happens. One thing I want to say, there's been a lot of news, like positive news about players. David Johnson, Christian McCaffrey, Devontae Adams. Don't worry. Looking to, get more snaps, more looks in the slot. Anything that's not bad is good in the offseason. Doesn't mean that you can bet money on it and say, oh, well, for sure, Devontae Adams is going to have 30 more looks in the slot this year. No, it just means that nothing bad happened, and keep looking at those players, except for Mr. Leonard Fournette. And we don't know that anything will really come of this, but he was arrested. I got to get my story straight. He was arrested for an unpaid speeding ticket. He was driving on a suspended license, and he was arrested. He was released, so on and so forth. More character issues, unfortunately, on a team that already had issues with him as a character, and I've already seen him drop in ADP rankings, by the way, from going in top 20, and now he's down ranked number 30 on the year. Not good for what was happening to him last year. Still a very talented player, but Wes, you were higher on him than I was. So what do you feel about Leonard Fournette at this point?
Oh, this is a tough one, Caleb, because he does have the production there. His average is not impressive, but when he was healthy this year, he got me some decent points just because he was. I mean, what were they going to do? Throw it with Blake Bortles 30 times a game? Like,
that's the key to
he
winning.
He has a lot of potential. Yeah. When in doubt, leave it in Bortles' hands. I don't know. I know management was not high on him. Coughlin was not super high on him. I'm looking at the depth, man, and it's a lot better than I thought it was in Jacksonville. You have Benny Cunningham, Thomas Rawls, I mean, the forgotten fantasy hero of a few years ago, Alfred Blue, and that's 3 running backs behind him that could do some damage. So if he's not careful, I mean, they could still hit the ground running, so to speak.
They can still draft somebody.
Exactly. They could still draft somebody, which, as we learned in the real draft, you can get starters in round 3, 4, or 5. It's not really a big deal anymore. So Leonard Fournette, I mean, he's between injuries, his character, I can see why he's dropping. Would I still take him? I'd be very tempted to take him, I guess, in the later rounds. Like, when I mean later, I mean like 3rd, 4th round, if for some reason he'd last that long, which I don't think he would.
And that's the thing, like where he is now, if it comes to the top of the 2nd or the beginning of the 3rd, and Leonard Fournette is sitting right there, or you could have Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Aaron Jones, Sony Michel, Marlon Mack. I feel like I would take any of those players at this point over Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, and I'm sure the offseason will open the door a little more to what's going on in Jacksonville and how they're going to use him as things are staying. That's why I don't like doing drafts so far away, because there's a lot of question marks. I mean, you could see a little peek in the preseason of how they're going to use their backfield. It could be the dreaded running back by committee in Jacksonville. You don't know. Or they could just use Leonard Fournette to be the bell cow. It's very hard to tell right now, and he could easily be a running back number 1 this year if he's healthy, or depending on the coaching and his health and his character, he could be irrelevant for the most part. So you don't know with him. I'm at a loss. I haven't really given you a good answer on your question, but I don't know what to say. He's a numbnut who can't get his head out of his own butt, but he's got a decent amount of talent, and they did spend a very high 1st-round pick on him.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like it would be hard. I mean, you see how much slack they gave Blake Bortles. I mean, I could see them dragging their feet with benching him or getting rid of him just because of what they have invested in him.
The last thing I'll say on it is, as much as I don't like him, if he is their clear number 1 going into the season and he's clean and everything is fine, I will draft him, because
You mean if he showers regularly?
If he showers regularly, if he puts on deodorant, if he makes sure that everybody knows he's a clean boy and he's not a dirty boy. No, I will
not draft a dirty boy.
I won't. Not personally, but at that point, yes, I would draft him if he doesn't have these hiccups. But for an early round pick, you need to be safe, right? You have to be sure that who you're grabbing is going to perform at that point.
So let me ask you something, Caleb. 2nd round, 3rd round, okay? Who's more of a sure thing? Fournette or, maybe like Damian Williams or Marlon Mack?
So
would you take those 2 guys over him?
Right now, I would take those 2 guys over him. But come draft season, come August, come late August, and we know Leonard Fournette is good. The team stands behind him. There's clearly no top-tier back standing behind him, ready to take the helm, then I would take Leonard Fournette over them. Maybe Marlon Mack first. I'm actually pretty high on Marlon Mack. But right now, as it stands, because you're just so unsure, it's really hard to want to trust Leonard Fournette. I really have to see this play out.
The last thing I'm going to ask you, would you take him or Aaron Jones?
Leonard Fournette in that case. I have
agree with that, and
some misgivings.
Why later?
Okay.
A little
all
teaser.
right. We actually talked about the news way more than I thought we would. Let's get into the next, man. I'm excited to talk about another round of league ethics. This time, regarding the trade. Probably one of the most volatile situations in all of fantasy sports.
Controversial. It's very hairy.
Sometimes arousing, sometimes there are enemies made. And so we're going to talk about league ethics trade. And I'm going to start this by talking about my situation last year. And I just want to tell the whole situation.
Yep, open up the wound.
Let's do it. I'm just going to do it so everybody understands where we're at. So last year, in our main league, we do have one player, and if you're listening, you know who you are, who at some point really doesn't start, pay attention. And this was probably week 4, maybe 5, if that. I don't know. Anyway, we were in trade talks. I wanted Ezekiel Elliott, and finally, he said, "Hey, I'll give you Alex Collins or I'll give you Ezekiel Elliott for Alex Collins and Trey Burton." And I said, "Of course, yes.
F yeah.
I'm going to take that." For him, he wanted it. So my only defense is that he offered it. Other than that, should the trade have happened? Probably not. But clearly the word I'm looking for, it was definitely in my favor. And it worked out that way, as I had Ezekiel Elliott as a stud running back the rest of the year, and he had Alex Collins and Trey Burton. Need I say more on that case? A lot of people didn't like it, but in our league, there is a commissioner, pushes it through. I don't believe in vetoing
it's a three-headed monster.
Right. So in this case, the way we have our trades set up, we're not big on people having to vote for a veto, especially since in this case, it was a player who at that point in the season was actually paying attention, but he apparently valued this trade insanely differently than most people would value it. So that's really what brings up this whole segment about league ethics, is that trades are a tricky situation. So the first point I want to bring up, and I want to ask your opinion on, Wes, is should you veto, and if so, when should veto take place?
So I'm just going to say this. If your league decides to allow vetoes, I would say you can't have the whole league involved, because at least in my experience, not the majority, but there are a few teams that won't even participate. They don't care. If the trade doesn't involve their team, they don't care. So I feel like that right there, just to get the majority votes, even on a crazy lopsided trade, you almost have to text people to be like, "Hey, did you see this veto?" Like something stupid like that. I think our setup where you have you, me, and our good friend Josh are the commissioners of our league, so that's 3. So you're obviously going to have 2 and 1, so there's going to be a majority rules. The more I was thinking about this, though, I don't feel like vetoes should be necessary. The only reason why I've been in favor of it in the past is, like in your situation, Caleb, that was highway robbery. And in a roundabout way, it affects my team greatly, because there were some good teams in our league, and yours was above average, and it just got catapulted into contention with the rest of us. And
yeah.
So yes. That was just another guy I had to worry about. So that's my argument for keeping it, is it's totally not fair for us that, build our team, and then you took full advantage of. I mean, you didn't take it. He offered it to you, but this crazy trade just totally throws the league. He basically is a team tanking. It's a redraft year, so he's not really tanking for anything. But I don't know. You can give your thoughts. I'm going to go on a rant, though, of why we should eliminate vetoing.
Yeah, so I totally agree to eliminate vetoing, but to the same extent, if a trade like that happens and there is enough of an uproar in the league, like there was in our league, I, even as a commissioner, should be okay with the trade being overturned and reversed post-transaction. Obviously, it needs to be done before any games take place because you don't want to change the effects of games. It just gets too sticky at a certain point. But if it's seriously something like somebody is clearly just trying to sell off their team, if they're trying to tank, then that's one thing. If somebody just seriously thinks that they're getting the better end of a trade or they're happy with the trade and they're an active player, fine. They're making a dumb move. But even in our case, like enough people made an outrage, it should likely have been overturned. But that can always be done post. There doesn't need to be a vetoing involved. The trade can happen right away. People don't need to wait and have to alter their rosters. There's very, very, very few cases. This might be the only case that we've had in years that of a situation where vetoing really would have done anything. And in that case, we can just reverse it after the fact.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you why I'm in favor of avoiding this whole vetoing thing. Unless there's clear, collusion, something naughty going on behind the scenes. Like you said, everyone values players differently. And sometimes it turns out a lot different than you would assume. I was looking over the stats from last year. Before the season, if someone would have traded Odell Beckham Jr., Le'Veon Bell, and Dalvin Cook for Kittle, McCaffrey, and James White, like that would be something people would want to veto. That seems crazy one-sided, right? Am I right?
Absolutely.
Kittle, McCaffrey, and James White more than doubled the output of Odell Beckham, Bell, and Dalvin Cook. So you never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to do what. Even though it might seem like it makes sense at the beginning, it could go different ways. I mean, Alex Collins and Burton was pretty bad, unless Ezekiel Elliott broke his neck.
I mean, Alex Collins hadn't been flushed down the toilet yet, so
yeah, but he was up to his waist in the toilet, though.
It wasn't good.
No, but just regardless, that whole thing, and the way I think of it, if I could get a little lewd, Caleb, if you could hit me with some lewd music, little humming, little, oh yeah. So it's like two consenting adults, okay? You might see a girl and a guy flirting at a bar and be like, no way she's going home with this guy. Okay, that's enough. I can't hear you talk. So it's like, say this guy goes home with this girl. That's totally one side. She's hot. He's a trash bag. Hey, two consenting adults, whatever, So that's how I view the trades, okay? You and this guy make that trade. It kind of sucks, but he thinks he's making a good deal. You think you're making a good deal. You guys aren't thinking about splitting the end of the year money pot or whatever. There's no collusion. Let it be. That's what I'm just going to say about that is just let it be. Because the vetoes can, if someone has something against somebody else, if some team's really making a good trade and stacking their team, and someone might vote against that just for their own stupid personal reasons. I don't think it's in the best interest of leagues. And then, like you said, it can cause for some hairy situations outside of the league.
Yeah, and another important reason why you should maybe consider having multiple commissioners, because you're going to have multiple points of view, and then just having an open forum for people to talk about things. Like if you get two people that say they really hate that trade and blah, 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 and everybody else is okay with it after it's been done, don't worry about it. But if everybody's saying this is garbage, get out of here, you know what to do. But The other point that
Caleb.
we talked about is that about everyone values a trade differently than you. That cannot be overstated enough. Okay, everybody has the player or the team that you send a trade offer that you think is semi-fair, maybe slightly balanced on your side, and then they ask for 3 number 1 running backs for their one player. Really, that's just saying, hey, I'm not willing to trade this player, so if you really want him, you can give me this. But everyone values players differently than you. You have to keep that in mind when you're offering trades in this league, in that you have to be willing to lose something to gain something. So what are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? You're going to have to lose a strength to gain one of your weaknesses.
Well put.
Okay.
Well put.
Again, we talked about when it should be overturned. It's just if it's clearly, especially late in the season before the playoffs, get rid of vetoing. But listen, if something happens that is really crazy, change it. The next point is trade processing time. And I am all in favor of eliminating all trade processing time.
I agree. I feel like, go ahead.
If you go down to a league like ours where it's commissioner just has to approve it, that's it, it goes through, I'm okay with that. As soon as one of the commissioners in our league approves it, it goes through. I'm actually okay with that. Or no veto, no commissioner approval, just let the trades process. The commissioner is going to look at it. People pay attention to this league and see what's going on, and things will be changed pretty quickly. But if everything's good, most good teams will inform the commissioner or inform people about what's going on before it happens. So it happens right away. You don't have a 24-hour waiting period, and then they can have their lineup set for that Thursday night game or the Sunday game or the Monday game when they want to.
Yeah, I agree. I hate processing times, man. It's like you make the trade, you're all excited, and then it's like crap. Like it's not processing till like Sunday at some point. So you got to text the guys involved and the commissioner, hey, is it okay if you push this through? I like it how we have it. The commissioner looks at it. Okay, there's nothing crazy happening here. They're obviously not trying to pull something stupid behind the scenes. As soon as they agree to the trade, that same day, a couple hours later, whenever the commissioner gets to it, pass it through, they can start setting their lineup. What's the big deal?
It makes it so much easier. So much easier on the commissioners and every player in the league for setting their lineups, for picking up players, for filling empty spots. Last but not least, and probably it might be the most important thing, no matter how silly the trade may be to you, or no matter how little the care you have in the person sending it, always accept, decline, or counter that trade. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go for days and days and days. Don't wait until the next week to see how the player does in that week. Just decline it. If you're not going to take it right then and there, when you look at it, you can probably look at it for 5 minutes. There's probably 2 or 3 people you're going to text to see how they think of that trade. But accept, decline, or counter. At the worst, just counter it with something you think is a little bit better and on with your day. They can deny it and then it's in their court, but don't ignore trades.
I know. I agree. It sometimes is tempting to ignore it because the trade is so insulting that you don't even want to acknowledge it and you just want to let the person sit on it a little bit. But it's like a bad relationship. Just reject it and move on. There's no point in hanging on to it. That little stupid notification above your lineup, just get it out of there. Or, like you said, counter the mother.
Just counter it. Just get it out of the way.
Just counter it.
All right, man. You know what time it is now?
I think I could guess.
All right.
Welcome to Devil's Advocate.
Today, I am going to have you tell me why I shouldn't draft our previously discussed friend, Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones should not be on your roster.
Oh, why not?
I had him last year, and I got him in the last round, basically.
It was a rookie round.
And, yeah, And that wasn't our rookie round. It was our sleeper round.
Oh, sorry.
He wasn't a rookie last year.
Sorry.
God dang it. And he did good for where I got him at, but now the secret is out. Cat's out of the bag. Aaron Jones can ball, and he can do it in a big way. So now he's going around third round, okay? Do you want to use a third round pick on him? No! Absolutely not. That's disgusting. What's the matter with you? First off, his first 2 seasons, he has missed 10 games. Not good. Suspension or injury. Last year, after week 8, was when he took over as the lead back. He never touched the ball, catches and rushes, more than 20 times. That's not what you want from one of your running backs. He got hurt in week 15, and Jamal Williams took over. Now, those final 2 weeks of the season, Jamal Williams posted back-to-back running back 1 stats, points. So really, it doesn't matter who the running back is in Green Bay. This is my big point, though, that scares me about him. The new coach, Matt LaFleur, he said that running back is one of the most violent positions in the league with the punishment these players absorb. He believes a committee approach is the most effective way regarding Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. If that doesn't scare you out of your freaking pants, I don't know what does. Let's remember where this guy came from. Tennessee. Who was his running backs last year? Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis. People did not want anything to do with those 2 guys. The season finished with Lewis with 214 touches. Derrick Henry had 230, so it was a pretty clear split. This guy is a good football coach. He understands the punishment a running back takes. And he also will haunt you in your nightmares if you take one of these Green Bay running backs, because I guarantee you take Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, you are not going to know who you're going to want to start on a week-to-week basis, because it will be the terrible C word, committee, running back by committee. It's going to be a headache, and I'm not talking about 8th, 9th round. Is it worth it? You're talking about your second running back. And like we say almost every episode, first round or 2, these need to be your studs, and then you build around that. You don't want to take a chance on a guy already that you don't even know his usage, man. Yes, if he was the bell cow, he'd be awesome as your number 2 running back, possibly number 1. He's not. And the head coach basically, fantasy football translation of what he just said, stay away from my running backs or they will screw you. Thank you.
All right. My only counter to that will come in the form of Matt LaFleur. I wonder if he learned from his lesson at the end of last year when he finally decided to start relying on 1 running back instead of 2.
Yeah, you would think, but his quote was recent after he got hired by Green Bay that he wants to have a running back by committee in Green Bay. Now, does that mean Jamal Williams is just going to be the third down back? Does that mean they're going to alternate drives like they did last year? I don't know, but there's too many question marks for me to spend that high of a draft pick.
Yeah. I like it. In fact, I love it. Okay. And you know what I want? Some more of it.
You won't, because that's the end of my segment.
No. Okay.
Where mine ends, yours begins. With Philip! And by Philip, I mean Philip Lindsay. Very strong rookie year, came out of nowhere. Why should I ignore that, Caleb, from last year? Why should I avoid this guy?
Come on, Wes. He's a fantasy darling. Everybody loves him. You got him undrafted in the NFL. Why wouldn't you want a part of Philip Lindsay in 2019? Well, I'll tell you why. Right now, his current ADP has him number 48 overall. Okay? So you're getting him in the 4th round. Running back number 20. Not bad. 2018, he played in 15 games. Started 8. 192 carries. 1,037 yards. 9 rushing touchdowns. 35 receptions. 241 yards and a touchdown. Great year. I mean, you're talking almost 1,300 all-purpose yards, 10 touchdowns. That's a great season for an undrafted player. He only had 3 games, though, where he actually rushed over 100 yards. He never had games with more than one of over 48 receiving yards, though, and his next highest was 31, so his yard totals were very low. So his touchdowns certainly bumped him up. He essentially busted in the last 3 games of the season before he got injured, which certainly didn't help. And that wasn't his only busted game. He had at least 5 games in those 15 games where he busted on your team. That's not good. His biggest games all came against bad defenses, except for his first game against the Chargers where he had 2 touchdowns. He's 5'8", 190 pounds, and you know what that tells me? Is that he can't be the bell cow back. And Royce Freeman is going to eat into his carries, into what he does, even just minorly for a small back like that. Think he's certainly not the size of Darren Sproles, but he's pretty close. Darren Sproles was a great fantasy asset, but not your number 1 fantasy asset, and you're getting close to where you need to draft this guy. He's also recovering from a broken wrist, by the way. David Johnson broke his wrist in the first couple of games of the season, and he came back last season and had a decent year, but with much more recovery time. So we don't know if we'll even have him coming into week 1. Now let me ask you a question, Wes. Would you rather have Philip Lindsay coming into next year or Devontae Freeman?
Ooh, good one. Am I to answer this?
Yeah.
I guess for the sake of your argument, Devontae Freeman.
No, I want you to answer honestly.
Yeah, probably Devontae Freeman. Royce
How
Freeman
about
scares me.
How about Kerryon Johnson, Tariq Cohen?
Yeah, I guess both of them over Phillip.
Okay. What about receivers like Chris Godwin, DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley? Oh, I don't know. How about another running back called Mark Ingram?
Ah, my boy. What do you think?
Just putting it out there, these are all players you will currently have to pass up on to take Philip Lindsay. On a player that is going to share workload, is definitely not guaranteed to be an RB1, whereas some players like Mark Ingram for sure, Devontae Freeman, have that RB1 upside. If he falls a little farther, sure, I'm interested, but guess what, Wes? For now, I'll let you take him, and I'm done.
Well done. Well done indeed, Caleb.
Yeah, I was getting a little heated on that one.
I could tell.
Really, because I had no shares of him last year.
Really starting
that's
to
why
hate the guy as a human being.
That's it. Oh, so that was good. That Devil's Advocate is brought to you by Wes and Caleb with a new podcast called Life in a Fantasy Football World. Check it out on your platform.
Or don't. It might suck.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I wouldn't go check it out. Guess what, guys? We're doing now our first mock draft. We're going to do mock drafts live on our recording for your pleasure. We're actually going to do 2 at the same time.
Ooh.
Wes Bohr has randomized. We are using, by the way, the Fantasy Pros website, which is a fantastic tool if nobody else uses it. And we are not a sponsor, by the way. Just think it happens to be an awesome tool. They have a mock draft simulator, which is awesome. He's randomized at the 8th slot, correct?
Correct.
We are doing a half PPR snake draft with 12 teams. And we're just going to keep going until we think we run out of time and we need to stop. Wes is going to draft based on a 0 running back style.
Which is against my nature. I am a running back heavy kind of guy.
Very heavy.
Very. I'm talking until it works against
10
my
running
team.
backs.
Not in my favor anymore.
And I'm going likely heavy running back, but best value overall, which is also very difficult for me because when it comes time to draft a quarterback, if there's a quarterback sitting there at a best value, it's just so hard for me
I
to
feel
take
like
it. But
you should have done a quarterback heavy draft with how you minimum 4 quarterbacks.
Oh, never want to be that guy. Never draft 4 quarterbacks, just for anybody listening. Okay, so that's the way we're going to do it. So we're going to get into this, and it's pretty nice the way it works out. We're going to actually tell you kind of who is taken and talk about where we're going, what we're thinking as things go on. So, Wes, do you want to start us off in your draft? What's going on?
Sure. So I just I'm already in draft mode, and I'm already pissed because I missed out on DeAndre Hopkins by 1 pick. I know it's a mock draft, but I'm still irritated.
Ooh.
So I think I'm going to go with, I like Odell Beckham. I really like Julio Jones. But going 0 running back with Melvin Gordon sitting there, I really am teased, but I'm following the rules that Caleb laid out. Devontae Adams will be my first draft pick. I feel like the Packers, I think they might go receiver in the draft, but this is how things are right now. I'm taking Devontae Adams, my first round pick.
See, I love that because I think he's going number 1 a lot of places. So you getting him as the number 2, that's a pretty solid, great grab right there. So where I'm at, I'm drafting from the 10th position for all knowing, and this is a pretty smart drafting tool because people have already screwed me on a lot of running backs. Obviously, the big ones, Barkley, Elliott, McCaffrey, Kamara, Gordon's gone, Gurley's gone, even Le'Veon Bell is gone at this point. So I need to take the next best option that I have, whose ADP is currently number 12, so I'm grabbing him a little early, but I think overall, he's the best value because of who I can get around the backside. So I'm talking about James Conner.
Backside.
Because on the backside, I think I can get David Johnson. So if I'm combining James Conner and David Johnson,
that's risky business.
Man, not only do I like it, but I love it. And
don't do it twice in a show, Caleb. I swear to God.
Come on, I just want to do it a little bit more. So yeah, I have to take James Conner here.
Okay, solid pick. Again, I'm extremely pissed off. I missed out on Smith-Schuster by 1 pick.
Ooh.
So now it comes down to, do I go with the top tight end in Travis Kelce, or do I go with some still rich blood in the receivers? We talked last show about the tight ends, or the show before that about tight ends. I think I'm going to pass on that. So it comes down to receiver. Here I have sitting on my little pretty lap, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, or Tyreek Hill.
Ooh.
I know.
Tyreek Hill just so happened to be the number 1 fantasy wide receiver last year.
Dang it, Caleb, you totally just jumped to the end. I was trying to build it up. You're always rushing through things prematurely. So, yes, spoiler alert, I'm going to ignore Tyreek Hill as a terrible human being and his breaking the laws and all that crap, and his judicial,
the laws,
what he's doing with the judicial system and being a turd head. And I'm going to draft Tyreek Hill because I feel like he will be with the Chiefs. I feel like this could drag out for a while, and pairing him with my first round pick of Devontae Adams, very nice receiving core.
All right.
That's Borat.
So keep in mind, he's doing this 0 RB, so this is going against his nature, and it's going against mine right now because my second pick, guess who's sitting at best value and happens to be a running back, because I'm also supposed to go heavy running back. It's Joe Mixon. How do I feel about Joe Mixon? I don't know. Juju Smith-Schuster's still there. Antonio Brown's still there. There's some pretty good players still there, but Joe Mixon, even though he's on the Bengals, which is the scariest part about him, his injuries do not scare me as much as being on the Bengals right now. He's a good running back. And he actually had some extremely efficient, solid games last year when he's on the field. So as the best value and as a running back, I am drafting Joe Mixon ahead of these receivers to fill me out with a James Conner, Joe Mixon 1-2 punch as my starters.
Very nice. Very nice. God, I'm looking at this right now. And God dang if I'm not getting excited. So the receiver's sitting on, just staring at me awkwardly at my face. Gosh, it's like I gotta pick the pretty girl, and they're all just looking at me, man. I got Keenan Allen, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Brandon Cooks.
Ooh.
But I got Marlon Mack looking at me. That's a good running back number 1. But if I'm doing this, I'm doing it hard, Caleb. Real hard.
I like it. It's the only way to do it.
Keenan Allen, I will bypass. Adam Thielen, I think the ridiculous production he has and how every year he comes in underrated blows my mind. Signed a big contract, another year with Kirk Cousins. Adam Thielen as my number 3. Are you freaking kidding me? Nope.
I love that.
Is...
Oh, you just teased the heck out of me.
What?
I thought you said nope.
No, I said yes. Adam Thielen all the way.
Oh. I thought you were tricking me and passing up on him. I was like, holy crap.
I am a trickster.
You have to take Adam Thielen here.
I'm a trickster, but I'm not that tricksy.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you're number 3. Your wide receiving core is...
Get about it.
Studley at best. That's awesome. I think that's... see, that's value there, everybody. You know, just so you know.
Arousing value.
So me, I couldn't be happier. And why couldn't I be happier? It's because seemingly Amari Cooper is dropping way down because he's still sitting there in the 3rd round here. And guess what? I won't take him. I'll have no part of him. I don't care if he is considered the best value right now. Literally, if he was the last pick in the draft, I still may not want him on my team because I don't want that headache.
Not even if there's
I
a
want
fire.
everybody to know it. So as my best value right now, and I will be happy to take Adam Thielen's partner, Mr. Stephon Diggs, because he is there. And now he can join my running backs of James Conner and Joe Mixon as my number 1 receiver. Stephon Diggs is a great player. Yeah, he has some bust games. You never know where that team is going. I could go Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, one of those Los Angeles Rams receivers, which are great, but none of them is the clear number 1, which is the only problem. They are all great receivers, so it's hard for me to choose over them. That's probably why I'm not choosing them currently. So I am best value considering Stephon Diggs because I refuse to draft Amari Cooper. Yeah. And I probably regretted it because a bunch of good players just went. But guess who's still there? The Rams receivers.
Gosh, man. Chris Godwin, I know I was high on him, but apparently everyone else in the freaking world is. He just got drafted with Stephon Diggs and Brandon Cooks in my mock.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm doing it.
Yeah,
I'm breaking down. I'm getting away from receiver. I'm getting away from tight end. Aaron Rodgers. Do I draft him? Do I believe in this coaching staff? In him changing his mind from being a jerk to back to being a good quarterback? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I am going to go
you tricked
first
me.
Running back. And this, again, is dependent on them not doing much in the draft. The number 1 back in Kansas City with my 4th round pick, Damian Williams.
Ooh.
A real treat.
See, this is tricky, with different drafts because Damian Williams is already gone on my side. You could have Derrick Henry over here.
Yeah, I also could have
as your number 1.
I also could never have kids again if I punch my nuts hard enough, but I'm not doing that either.
Well, you should. I'm sitting actually in a really good situation at this moment. Because as my number 2 wide receiver, I could have Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Kenny Galladay is there, Cooper Kupp, Julian Edelman. some really high-quality wide receivers. Now, a lot of the running backs have been eaten away, so I'm going to lose out on quite some running backs from my last wide receiver pick. But I really do think that as good as Robert was last year, Brandon Cooks has a higher touchdown upside. So, sadly, I am going to draft Brandon Cooks to combine with Stephon Diggs as my number 2 wide receiver. As the best value, by the way, that experts agree.
Oh, experts indeed. Okay, Rodgers is still sitting there. Hot. What? Pass. But what I won't pass on is someone that's in the past week, for some reason, I'm just really, really starting to get into. What goes good with your breakfast, Caleb? Some OJ. I think I'm going to solidify my tight end with the up-and-coming tight end in Tampa Bay, OJ Howard, who's just sitting there waiting for me. Because after him, there was a bit of a drop-off with tight ends. So I'm getting the last of what could be elite tight ends, and I am patting myself on the tuchus for that one.
That's pretty good. I'm actually pretty high on OJ Howard this year, so I am not in any way, shape, or form mad about that. And that's the 5th round, right?
That was the 5th round.
I dig. Strangely enough, as we're doing this, guess who happens to be considered my greatest value right now?
Mike Gesicki!
OJ Howard. But there's a close second. And I'm also going heavy RB in this draft. And I happen to be able to grab one of my favorite players, though I'm a little concerned as of late. Kerryon Johnson is still sitting there for me here in the 5th round of a 12 team.
Oh, man.
And I'm going to go ahead and grab him.
Grab him aggressively.
Oh, man. He was actually incredibly insulted by that.
Don't get defensive because he's part of your team all of a sudden.
All right. Your go.
Oh, I'm at a loss because as exciting as those first few rounds are, I'm looking at the running back pool and I'm realizing why this is a risky. I still have a starting running back slot and I'm staring right at the guy you hate with a passion, your number 1 enemy, Philip Lindsay.
Not number 1 enemy. Come on.
You sure made a compelling argument for me to avoid this guy.
No, hang on. Philip Lindsay is still there, and you're in the 6th round,
Yeah.
right? He's currently going in the 5th round. So you're getting him around early if you're taking him. Okay? Who else is there? Running
I
back.
don't know. I already drafted him.
Oh.
There was...
These are the things that go through your mind, right? You're like, oh my God, yeah, I got him.
Well, I'll tell you who was left.
I could have Russell Wilson.
Running back. Okay, who's Matt Ryan, Jameis Winston, Golden Tate, Darius Geis, Tariq Cohen, Calvin Ridley, Jordan Howard. Blah. So
It's getting dry quick.
that's who was left.
All right. So, not bad, though. I mean, so the funny thing is going to be looking at this after we're done and seeing how you like 0 RB, which it sounds like not so much. I'm in my 6th round. I have James Conner, Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, Brandon Cooks, and Kerryon Johnson. Not too bad. Picking from the spot that I did, I was hoping to get David Johnson on the back end. Obviously, I didn't. Went with Joe Mixon. Because I'm also trying to go best considered ADP value. Now, at this point, a quarterback pops up of Deshaun Watson. Next is a tight end of OJ Howard.
OJ Howard's still
who
there.
I need. He's still there come the 6th round.
Ooh.
So at this point, I'm not prepared to go quarterback yet. I want to wait on Deshaun Watson, but I'll go ahead and take the best value that I can in OJ Howard, and I'm going to draft him as my one, probably only tight end here.
Nice value for sure. Okay, so this zero running back has turned into running back heavy because I am going to grab my backup running back. This is a very easy selection. Lamar Miller is sitting there all by himself, and I refuse to be teased by that fool. But someone that is there, and this is half-point PPR that we're drafting for, James White. Again, the Adam Thielen of running backs. I don't know what this guy has to do to get some more respect. I honestly don't care because he has found his way onto my team, and my running backs are locked down for now.
All right. I'm not a huge fan of him since he's not on the Dolphins anymore, but I'll allow it for now.
You'll allow what?
For you to draft Lamar Miller.
Oh, you're gonna be a dang fool, Caleb, when you hear this podcast, because I did not draft him. I said I won't draft him. I said I will give in to the tease of James White still sitting there.
I thought you said you wouldn't give in to the tease of James White still sitting there. I don't know what I'm talking about, everyone. All right. I'm on the board.
But the next pick, Caleb takes Kevin Durant.
So I'm very teased here because when I go best value, by a long shot, Marvin Jones Jr. is sitting there as the wide receiver for Detroit. But I'm also running back heavy, which gives me a allotment to steer towards running back. Yes, I already have my flex position filled with Kerryon, but I still need a backup running back. So Marvin Jones Jr. is the clear wanted of experts agree in this case. But the next best that I can get happens to be a really great diamond in the rough in Kenyon Drake.
Ooh.
He's still there on the board. And I have to take him at this point. As a bench, slot in, running back, he's perfect. Because you're not sure of his role. He's going to have big games, but you can flex him in. Taking Kenyon Drake here.
Nice, Caleb. Nice indeed. I am in a predicament that maybe you can help me out with, but not really. I'm looking at the 2, 4, 5, 6, the 7th best quarterback from last year, Jared Goff, staring me right in my fat face. But also, I see sitting there a number 1 receiver in Courtland Sutton.
Oh.
What do you? Will Fuller's still there? Do not trust him. His health is the worst. So it comes down to backup receiver, starting quarterback. My receivers are so rock solid, but there's a lot of good quarterbacks waiting there for me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm not even going to give a crap. I'm going with the receiver, Courtland Sutton, number 1 receiver. Joe Flacco is going to make him elite just like he did to himself. Courtland Sutton, my pick in the 8th.
Oh, I love Courtland Sutton. That's pretty good getting him into the 8th round. Can't be mad about that. So, because I'm in a similar situation on my end in the 8th. I already have a tight end, so I don't need to grab a backup tight end yet. Evan Ingram is still sitting there. Tevin Coleman, yeah, he's available. I really don't want any part in the San Francisco backfield right now. Certainly not inside of 10 rounds. Will Fuller, he's there. He's a tease because Will Fuller...
The ultimate tease, actually.
Oh my gosh. If he could stay healthy, what a wonderful grab he would give me. So...
and possibly
we all know I have speaking issues. So I take...
I could get that audio. What a wonderful grab he would give me. It's the nicest way to ask for a guy to come on to you.
Oh, Will Fuller. I'll dream of you tonight. So what do I do here? Will Fuller, let me ask you, Wes. Will Fuller, Dante Pettis, or Courtland Sutton?
Dude, I'll tell you, Will Fuller's the most talented. He will not play that many games this year because he just never does. He's just not a healthy guy.
He's too fast for his own body.
He's just too awesome for the average human body. So, I eliminated one. It's your draft. You got to eliminate the other.
Pettis is very interesting as well, but it's hard to know how Garoppolo is going to turn out. At least we know something about Joe Flacco to this case. So I think I hate to copy you again. I really do. But I think at the same time, I'm going to take Cortland Sutton.
Well done, young squire. Now, I'm looking at Jared Goff looking at me. A little hurt that he wasn't drafted last round, but he's still there. I'm a little excited. But also, there's somebody else looking at me. And that is Royce Freeman. And I have Philip Lindsay. And what I want is a massive headache all year. False, I do not. I'm going with Jared Goff. I'm drafting my quarterback and not looking back. It's a little high for my running back or a quarterback, but I just if there's a run on quarterbacks, man, and I gotta freaking start Mitch Trubisky, I'm gonna be so mad.
It's funny because I'm kind of in the same position. I got Jared Goff sitting there and Royce Freeman. But I agree. I don't usually draft a quarterback so early. Ninth round really isn't too bad. But there's a lot of good quarterbacks back there that I think that could have the same upside that Jared Goff does. Ben Roethlisberger is still up there. Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins. I mean, there's a lot of options there. Royce Freeman, he has a lot of upsides in the fact that who knows what Philip Lindsay's going to do. You know, he could get injured. He could play a whole season, but Royce Freeman's still going to have a part, and I'm going to I want to take the risk on him, but the problem is I only have 3 wide receivers right now, and that is a dangerous territory to be in. So you know what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to take a flyer on your guy, and this is going to be way early for a 9th round, but I'm going to go ahead and grab John Brown because he's the next best wide receiver available. He's literally the next best wide receiver available on my board.
No, I'm looking at him right now as one of the top wide receivers left. Now, I'm in the 10th round, whereas you are not. I'm looking at receiver right now.
Shut your mouth.
Adam Humphries is there, and I just hate any Tennessee receiver, man. John Brown's there. Very tempting. Got some decent tight ends after that drop-off. Eric Ebron's been there, David Njoku, but I refuse to get a second tight end. So, what do we got here? We got running backs, we got receivers. With the 10th round pick, I'm going to take a player that is a bit of a reach, and you can scream it if you want to. Anthony Miller intrigues me.
Oh?
But, oh, God.
If that is your response to who you're looking at,
well, you know you're getting in.
Just stop right there.
Oh, do I? This is a mock draft. Come on, Wes.
God.
Stop it.
Why, Lord? Why?
I think he's going to do very well in his new place. I think he's going to jive well with Carson Wentz if he stays healthy. I'm taking Deshaun Jackson as my 5th receiver.
All right. Not bad. He has a lot of upside, actually, there. I actually like that. If you can get him that late, heck yeah. What if he has 8 touchdowns? Suddenly I'm
not an A-hole.
Someone's looking smart. Hey, so guess who's still sitting here for me? Mr. Royce Freeman. And this is the perfect situation to grab Royce Freeman. But I'm getting him this late. He is one of the better handcuffs because he already has a starting role. And if Philip Lindsay goes down, he is the main back there in Denver. So I'm taking Royce Freeman. Would be a dummy to pass him up at this point. Still have Jared Goff, Ben Roethlisberger, and a million other quarterbacks. So I'm okay. Still waiting on quarterback.
Very good. I am kind of regretting my decision to take Goff because there's a lot of guys I think still are there, and I think Goff would still be there. So what I'm left with, I'm done with my tight end. I'm done with my quarterback. It's a wide receiver running back game. And it is just a garbage pile right now. I'm looking at Duke Johnson and
Oh man.
okay, I think I'm going running back. And I like Jamal Williams, what he offers. I really do. But I think I might do a little reaching of my own, Caleb.
Don't do it. It's not worth it.
I do not like Lamar Miller, but I am fond of his backup, Deontay
Ooh.
Foreman,
I like it.
as my, I believe, fourth running back. I think he has a lot of upside that if I stash him and wait, my real goal was to get Kareem Hunt, who was taken one round earlier than I wanted to take him.
Oh, he's still on my board.
I think if you take him this late and stash him, he could pay off big time for you when it matters, playoff time. But I got a little stupid. I got a little greedy. And I ended up taking... Oh, shoot. I ended up taking Deshaun Jackson instead of him. So if this was real life, I'd be irritated with myself. But, yes, I'm going with Deontay Foreman as my fourth running back. And I will hold on to him and wait for Texans to make the right decision to start him over an aging and mediocre Lamar Miller.
But he might not be the same talent as Kareem Hunt, but you're only getting Kareem Hunt for half a season. Let's say it takes him half a season to switch over to Deontay Foreman. You're still getting a great back at a very late round in Deontay Foreman. That's the way I look at it.
This is true.
So here I am. Yes, Kareem Hunt is still on my board, which I really want, and I'm going running back heavy, but I already have 5 running backs on my team. I got James Conner, Joe Mixon, Kerryon Johnson, Kenyon Drake, and Royce Freeman sitting on my bench. So I'm pretty running back heavy, but Kareem Hunt's that type of running back that could win you your season because he's coming in late, he's coming in healthy. And as for wide receivers, not bad choices there. I could get Deshaun Hamilton, Tyrell Williams. I think I'll stay away from Antonio Callaway at this point with the way the roster on Cleveland's going. I kind of have to go Kareem Hunt. I can still wait on quarterback because all those top quarterbacks are still there at this point. So I'm going to take Kareem Hunt, take the flyer on him, and let him sit for 8 weeks. And the problem is, and let me just make this clear for all of you out there, a suspended player cannot sit on IR. So if you're considering drafting somebody like Kareem Hunt at this point, he has to stay on your active
Are you
bench.
willing to sacrifice that spot for half the season?
That's a lot.
It is.
That's tough.
But I guess this far in the draft...
I'm only willing to do it because of how many running backs I have.
That's true. But I guess when you get this far in the draft, he is the Kareem of the crop.
You can get out.
Pause for laughter,
Just leave.
and then continue. Okay, so
Just
my
go.
So this is what drafts are all about, man. I'm in a position I did not think I'd be in. I have 2 guys at a position I thought was locked down that I didn't think would be here. O.J. Howard, his health, he has been known to miss games, and I have a Delaney Walker looking at me who, a year ago, last year, I know he got hurt, but before that, he is a really serviceable tight end. And for him to be my backup to O.J. Howard would be great. Jared Goff. Last year I had Roethlisberger and took a flyer on Mahomes. We saw how that turned out. Awesome. So do I want to... I'm big on Carson Wentz this year. I think he's going to come back huge. Oh my gosh, these freaking decisions, man. It's not even a real draft, for God's sake.
Oh, it's real, all right. This is happening, and people are going to hear it.
And then I got people like these receivers staring at my... But I think I'm going to go... I don't think I need a second quarterback. I will take Delaney Walker against my better judgment. I like that safety net. If something happens to O.J. Howard, I don't gotta hit the waiver wire panicking. I'll be in good shape. Delaney Walker, you're my boy.
Man, the crazy thing about him is that this is the first time he's had a serious injury that kept him out all year. And we're here taking other players that are coming back from injury in top rounds. Delaney Walker was a huge stud of a tight end before this last year. So I honestly think that's a really great pick. He could end up being your starter all year, and now, unfortunately, you might have two stud tight ends all year. That's the only part. And now at this point, for me, this might be the time that I'm going to take a quarterback. Guess what? Jared Goff is still there. Ben Roethlisberger, Carson Wentz, a lot of top quarterbacks are still there. But I am going to agree with Wes in this case, and I'm going to get Jared Goff just 4 or 5 rounds later. At this point, as my starting quarterback, this late in the draft, I have what could be a top 10 quarterback easily on this season.
Oh, I know that stung for you to do, Caleb, but you had to.
I had to take a quarterback eventually.
If you didn't have to, I know you wouldn't. Okay, you're getting into handcuff territory right now. Taking some flyers on some receivers. I'm going to take a flyer on a guy that I think is very much going to excite you, Caleb. Mr. Albert Wilson's there. I like Fitzpatrick. Albert Wilson's not going to lose points for Fitzpatrick throwing interceptions and being crazy, but Fitzpatrick, if we know anything from him, he is not afraid to air it out. I think Albert Wilson, as my third backup wide receiver, my 6th receiver, I think he provides enough upside for me to justify my 13th round pick on him.
I very much like him, so I'm happy that you're taking him. And I have Antonio Callaway, Taylor Gabriel, Dante Moncrief, Mohamed Sanu, Marquise Lee, Zay Jones, and then Albert Wilson. And I don't know that I like maybe Taylor Gabriel because he is less injury prone, but I like the upside of Albert Wilson more. I need another wide receiver, so I'm happy to join you there, which leaves us both with one more pick before we end this. So I will gladly take Albert Wilson, and believe it or not, he was the consensus for experts for that group left.
Very nice. And do I have one more pick left? This will be easy.
Right? Yeah.
I can't believe he's still there. If anything happens to Aaron Jones, he is immediately number 1 running back. Jamal Williams, he's taken. He's easy. That's easy. He's going to provide stinking value splitting the time. If something happens to Aaron Jones, which if anyone was paying attention from earlier, has missed 10 games in 2 seasons, Jamal Williams instantly is a must start on a week-to-week basis. So I will put him in my bench and just wait like a tiger in the weeds.
The reason I love that so much is because I was going to say for my last positional pick beside kicker and defense, I love taking a handcuff or somebody who already has an active role and can be a handcuff. And Jamal Williams fits that profile exactly. I still have Kalen Ballage, Jalen Samuels, and I haven't even checked if Jalen Samuels is still marked as a tight end, but Jalen Samuels, to me, is one of the most valuable handcuffs in the entire league. Kalen Ballage, just so unsure about Miami's situation. I can't really go on him. But I also have Jamal Williams there, so I'm going to take Jamal Williams in my running back heavy draft.
Oh, jeez.
So, thank you for letting me lean that way. And that's it. So I'll start it off and tell you what my team is like. My quarterback is Jared Goff. My running backs are James Conner, Joe Mixon, Kerryon Johnson, Kenyon Drake, Royce Freeman, Kareem Hunt, Jamal Williams. My wide receivers are Stephon Diggs, Brandon Cooks, Cortland Sutton. Then I have on the bench John Brown and Albert Wilson, a little light on wide receivers. O.J. Howard is my tight end. And, so very strong on running backs. Obviously some injury risk there, but, I'm not entirely unhappy with what's happening here.
Very good. I'll give you a quick rundown of my lineup. You got Jared Goff, who had a great year last year, and I don't see why he would regress at all. Damian Williams, who has crazy potential. Philip Lindsay, if he can hold on to that job, is a decent number 2. I'm not trying to toot my horn here, but I'm just saying. I got my two.
Exactly.
We did half point PPR. So you got Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, who's going to get the receptions. You got your home run hitter and Tyreek Hill, OJ Howard, who has a good rapport with Jameis Winston. Then you go to the bench, running backs, James White, who catches about 65 balls a game from Tom Brady, Deontay Foreman, and Jamal Williams, where if their starters go down, they instantly become number ones. A backup tight end I did not see coming, but Delaney Walker, and who else was available there? I couldn't justify not selecting him, so he's a good backup plan to OJ Howard. Then my receivers, Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Jackson, and Albert Wilson. If this was my real draft, I'd be very happy. For the most part, because I don't have a defense or a kicker, and I would love to be in a league without a defense and a kicker.
I totally agree. Get them out of here.
Yeah.
So what I would say in yours, it is the most potential that I can see, right? Like you have all the right players that if the pieces fall, you have number ones across the board, right?
That's a nice way of saying he doesn't like my draft.
No.
If everyone else died in the league, like I could see this team making it somewhere.
Especially when it comes to your running backs in particular.
Yeah, I know. That's the zero running back risk.
Yeah. So overall, what's your opinion? Do you like that method of drafting?
I feel like if the draft falls it's a very risky strategy because I could have had a lot worse running backs than that. I mean, I was fortunate that they fell to me because after Phillip Lindsay, there was a big drop off. If you get in the draft doing this, I could see you getting to a point and being like, "Oh my God, what have I?" It's kind of like when you wake up from a night of drinking and like, wait, what just happened? Did I seriously pass on running backs for the first 4 rounds? Like, I'm looking at Chris Carson as my number one. What the hell was I thinking? But also looking at my 2 running backs, Phillip Lindsay and Damian Williams, I can totally justify that when I have Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, and Adam Thielen, all number one receivers from last year. Like, that's insane. So I feel like it's a total gamble. If you just want to play it as you go, that's a way to do it. But man, it's a total gamble. If it falls your way, you could look like a genius. Otherwise, it's almost like you should fold on your season immediately. So I don't know. It was quite the thrill, if I'm being honest.
Well, it's just so hard to get a number one running back, but there are some really running backs going late right now between Damian Williams, Devontae Freeman, Phillip Lindsay, Mark Ingram. Like, there's so many running backs you can get in the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds right now that I'm curious to see how this offseason really pans out. And once we get into draft season, where these guys are going, because if that's still the case, I'm not mad about the zero RB method right now.
It's definitely intriguing.
I mean, I'm mad about a lot of things.
It's definitely intriguing, I would say, but I don't know. It's in the mock draft, man. It was a little nerve-wracking, to be honest with you. like I'm just saying, like, don't take it, don't take him, don't take him. Like, it's very nerve-wracking. But if you got the buzz for it, go for it.
Thank you, everybody, once again for tuning in. We had a blast doing that mock draft. It ran a little long, but that's okay. It happens with every single one of our podcasts. So thank you for joining in. Next week, oh man, we're having a great pre-NFL draft episode where we're going to talk about draft position profiling, our own draft predictions. We're going to do a little devil's advocate on the rookies going into the draft. And it's going to be a great episode. You're going to love it. We're going to have a lot more mock drafts coming up. And going into May, we're really going to start breaking down rankings and teams as a whole. So you get to see how we feel about coaching changes and players on teams. And when we get to your team, you just close your ears because as long as you're not a Dolphins or Steelers fan, then you might be okay.
That's true.
Yeah. And that's all I got.
Again, thank you guys for bearing with us through that mock draft. It was very exciting on our end. Hopefully you were just as entertained. We appreciate you listening. Don't forget to leave us a review, a rating. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, Life in AFFW. And I feel like it's appropriate, Caleb, that after the mock draft that maybe we should end this episode by mocking each other.
What? You mean you pansy little...
You're bad at drafting.
Basically...
You're subpar at basketball and probably couldn't grow a thick, lush mustache even if you tried. Even with product.
Yeah, well, you can't get an erection.
Okay, that was too far. I said mock. Not hit me with a
Oh,
hard...
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I did a few times,
I forgot
man.
where we were going. Well, I guess your child is evidence of it. I don't know what I'm talking
That
about.
mocking
Thank
took
you,
a
everybody.
terrible turn.
I never know the levels. It's always 0 or 1,000.
I'll tell you what. I put an end to that theory when Damian Williams was still on the board.
That's it.